Hi, so this week the video is going to be in three main parts, really. First part, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the upcoming patch, very briefly, and then about a couple of projects I'm doing, and then just to address a few replies that have been made to videos in a bit more detail than I could possibly do by replying to that reply on the comments section myself. So, in terms of the patch, there's been a little bit of news, maybe not news, in that people have observed that the schedule for the time walking events has changed on the PTR. And it basically has the time walking kata dungeons, which of course are going to be one of the big things that comes with patch 6.2.3, out on November the 18th and January the 27th. Now, if these are the dates that are actually intended, that sort of suggests the patch is going to come out quite soon, because you could sort of say, well, they don't have to have the kata time walking dungeons come out the same week as the patch, but they're not going to leave it a long time. Now, if the patch doesn't come out for November the 18th, let's say it came out a week later, they're not going to surely leave the Cataclysm time walking dungeons until January the 27th, because that is one of the main parts of the new patch. Again, it's one of these things that you don't want to read too much into it. They could, of course, just change the scheduling again. I don't think it would take that much just to do that, and I'm sure they'll bring the patch out when they're ready. But the fact that these dates are as they are might indicate that Blizzard think that they could well be bringing the patch out for then. So best guess at the moment is round about that November the 18th. So get yourselves ready for that. But it is at the moment just a best guess. We don't know until they actually announce it, and they might only announce it a week before or even a few days before, given that this is not a major content patch. Could be at any time, and that could change. So there's a couple of projects I'm doing at the moment, mostly Retribution based. So due to requests, I've been bringing out some guides on specifically how I sort of maximise damage where I can on specific fights in Hellfire Citadel. So I brought a couple of videos so far, one an introductory one on the first three bosses. The next three bosses will be coming out quite soon, and then it's not going to be like a once a week thing. It will be like 2 or 3 of them a week, as and when I can get reasonable footage. Some of the footage that might have been useful for it, I deleted by accident, trying to make room. So I was trying to get some more this week, but this week's Wednesday raid was beyond belief. We were like one-shotting certain bosses that occasionally you might wipe on, but they were very bad one-shots, and so there's limited things to use on those ones. So I've been trying to go back to my archive to see if there's any older videos that might still illustrate the points where possible. But those will be coming anyway. Another little thing, I had a request a bit ago, actually, probably about a few weeks ago, to do a bit of a story of the story of the Paladin, particularly the Retribution Paladin, through Warcraft, because I've played a Paladin right from the start. I didn't play World of Warcraft right from the day it was released, but a couple of months later I did, and I played Paladin. The Paladin I now play is the one I played right back then. I've not changed mains really, and so I have had quite a lot of experience playing Retribution Paladin over the years. So I thought, I could do that. I could talk about Paladins in general, the Retribution Paladin, how it's evolved from expansion to expansion, as well as my own personal experience of learning how to play it at a reasonable level, at any rate. So that one is probably going to come out, the first one of those, I'm going to do it as a series. I'm going to do it along the lines of past, present and future, so I'll call it the Ghost of Retribution Paladin Past, Present and Future. I'll tie it in with a bit of Christmas Carol. So I'll design it so that the last part comes out round about Christmas, a bit of a festive theme. So the first part will probably be coming out, I reckon it'll be about 6 parts altogether if I think about it. So the first part in the next week or two. So if anyone's got any other things they want me to throw in there about this, if you enjoy your nostalgia trips, because that's what it's largely going to be about for most of the videos, then throw those ideas in the comments, and I'll see what I can do. So another thing I thought about is, as some people sort of comment on videos, and some of them just comments, and that's all there is to it. Some of them sort of more sort of queries or disagreements. And I say sometimes you can just put a reply to it nice and simply in the comment section. But some of them, as I mentioned last week, perhaps need a bit more of a sort of fuller response. So I'm going to sort of tackle some of those now. So first one we had from Henry Zwiring. Seems to play a hunter. I mean, basically, this is this comment is sort of what started me off in the first place. I've had a YouTube channel for a few years, but it's only really been for uploading kill videos and sometimes the odd other video just to show a friend or something like that. It was never sort of intended for a wider audience. And then this summer, I just decided, look, there's no real guides on Retribution Paladins in terms of video guides. There are good ones on forums. The problem is, how do you know who is the authority? If you don't know enough about the spec to be able to tell the difference between good advice and bad advice, how do you know what is the good advice and bad advice? It's quite hard to tell. And as for YouTube videos, you probably will be able to find them. They exist. I've seen people do these things. But then they say, oh, Retribution Paladin Guide. And you look at this video and it's like half an hour long. Some of them it's about 10 minutes long. It's like you're having a laugh. And you have a look to see if it's just part of a series. No, it's not. They've actually think that they can explain the class, the spec, in 10 minutes. Stood at a training dummy going, oh, here's what I do. It's an absolute load of rubbish. It doesn't help anyone play that class for raiding. I mean, so I started to do it. I started off just by doing one on the class trinket. I just thought, well, because this is something that is going to be a pain in the arse to use, but we're going to want to use it on a few fights. And then it went from there. I sort of did a few others, and just to sort of highlight, you know, how much there is there, even just to play at a reasonable level. I mean, I didn't intend any of these guys to be like advanced level stuff, not like the proper. I'm not advanced enough myself to do that. So I did a beginner guide and an intermediate guide and a load of other guides in there, and some of them were fairly long. I mean, in total, just that series, there's like about 5 hours, close to 5 hours of videos just in that series. And that doesn't include the stuff I've been doing recently on damage in Hellfire Citadel specifically, even though that whole guide is specifically about 6.2 as well, because every patch the Retribution Paladin changes fundamentally in the way it plays, and obviously from expansion to expansion. So this is the sort of thing, if I keep this up, that I will be doing every tier. You know, it'll be hours worth of guides, and it does take that much as well. I know I can waffle a bit, but I don't waffle for hours worth. So there's no way you can do a guide in like 10 minutes. It's beyond a joke, even half an hour. No. But, you know, so in terms of, are there other guides this detailed on the other specs and on other classes? I don't know. I'm sure there will be some, but I actually don't know. One good place to start if you really want to improve your play, particularly getting up to this sort of mythic level, it's probably, I mean, I'd suggest MMO Champion. Elitist Jerks used to be quite good. Now it's very hit and miss, and they very much live up to their name. It's not a good place to go and ask questions. MMO Champion's pretty good though, and you will usually find some guides there. I mean, for hunters, of course, Azatharian is the main sort of theory crafter you want to talk to there, and I know he supports a guide on MMO Champion in the hunter section, so that'll be well worth checking out. But in terms of video guides, I don't know about hunters, I have to say. Next comment. This is in response to my feeling that there isn't much difference between sort of being in your garrison and being in a city from before, and the point was made, well, you could talk to people in the city. And I would say, well, you can talk to them from that point of view in a garrison as well, because it's linked to the general channel. I mean, cities used to be, I would say, more sociable places, because, you know, you'd go into a city and people used to see what other people were up to. Usually, I mean, this took the form mostly of inspecting gear, or what are they up to, or oh, they've got that piece, and oh, where did they get that? And you'd ask questions, and you'd sort of meet people like that inspecting, or where did you get that, or you've killed that boss now, have you? Well done. I remember what, you know, in Blackwing Lair, Valastras, and not on the first kill, but a few kills later, I got the shield, the Paladin shield, or Shaman shield if you're Horde, but Paladin shield for me, very nice looking shield. And I remember someone, a Paladin from another guild, who higher up than us, who'd been killing it longer than us, but they've never had the shield drop. Going, you jammy bugger. None of us have got that shield. It won't drop. But yeah, you sort of get into little conversations like that. Doesn't happen now. There's a few things that sort of stop that happening. You've got the fact that because of such easy realm transfer now, there is no like realm community anymore. You don't identify with the realm. Cross realm itself has stopped that as well. In a city, you will see people from lots of different realms. But like someone you might see from another realm, if they go to that same mailbox the next day, you might not see them even in the same place, because that's just depends on how that's working. And transmog as well. So it's not like you look at someone, oh, they've got that piece of gear, I'll go and have a look at it. So now people in transmog, you could have someone, you know, who looks really sparkly, looks very nice set, but it's just transmogged, and you look at what they've actually got, and it's a load of blues and greens. You might see someone else who looks like Clown Vomit, and they've actually got the best gear in the game. So you can't really tell now, because so many people do use transmog, even though, as I've said before, the art department, I do so feel sorry for them, because they've spent a lot of effort trying to make the different armor sets look extra special. But the problem is that the usual Warcraft philosophy to make armor look really good is to make outlandish shoulders. Hence this image. I use this image on the Legion one as well that someone did. It's really good. And this is basically what it's like in World of Warcraft. It's like, art team, we need some really cool looking armor, extra cool. What are you going to do? Well, what we'll do is we'll make the shoulders bigger, and then we'll make them move up and down a bit every now and then. Yeah, thanks. I'll stick with transmog. But all of these things mean that inspecting random people isn't there anymore. And at that point, what then is there to do? I mean, I sometimes do go to a city. I'll sometimes go, well, when I was Alliance, would go to Stormwind now and then just for the hell of it. You don't see anything. Nothing's happening there. And it wasn't in MOP either. It's, you know, before Garrisons, you didn't. I never saw any interaction with people. But anyway, we'll see. Now, this comment about the game token. So I was making the point that in effect, Warcraft potentially has a free-to-play model. Now, there is no such thing as genuine free-to-play anyway. Obviously, in Warcraft, you're always going to have to buy the expansion, and you're probably going to have to pay at least 1 month, maybe 2, of subscription to be able to get your character's level cap. But after that, I mean, even 60k gold, which, you know, might surprise some Americans. Yes, there are some European servers, including the one I'm on, where it's about 60k for a gold token, which is great for me because I have the disposable income and I can't be bothered to make gold. So I just buy a couple of WoW tokens each month. 120 gold, 120k gold. Jobs they couldn't. I don't do it every month, but every now and then, because I'd have nothing really to spend it on either. But you can also get this amount of gold if you can bother. Now, the argument is always, okay, well, it takes a certain amount of time to do that. If you just go out and get a job, you'll get enough money just to pay for the subscription, which is fine. Yes, absolutely. But let's say that the subscription was a significant proportion of your disposable income, but you like playing the game a lot. If you're only going to play it a few hours a week just to do a bit of LFR, obviously this isn't for you. You're not going to be able to raise 60k gold. But if you find yourself playing it a few hours a day, you absolutely can. The Garrison are a great resource for making money. Not as much as it used to be with the changes to the way the inn works now, but you can still make a lot. You've got to bear in mind, if you're willing to get a few alts up and get the Garrison going, crafted items have remained a good seller. You can sell them, even if you just make for a few thousand gold. If you keep your Garrisons active, so keep them stocked so that the work orders are always on there. Particularly, I mean, your Garrison, think about it, your Garrison resources, if you're not spending it on anything else, and who is at the moment, you can just use that to buy things from the trading post and sell them on the auction house. You can you get yourself professions alts with actual crafting professions, ones that work really well for selling, obviously consumables. So the gems, the epic quality gems, will sell well. The potions and flasks always sell well. If you're going to sell potions and flasks, little tip, sell them an hour before what is the normal raid time in your particular region, on a Wednesday, because then the lazy raiders who've left it to the last minute to get their potions and flasks sorted out will have to pay your prices. I mean, maybe just scout out your auction house, see what times of the week it tends to be lowest for on what particular potions and flasks are in most demand, and just sell them. That's potentially really good. If you just want to chill out for a bit, you don't really want to play the game, but you just want to listen to a bit of music, maybe just do a bit of fishing, just while you listen to some music or chatting with someone on Skype, something like that, and then sell the fish on the auction house. You can run older raids. The higher level these raids are, obviously, the more gold they'll return. Running Molten Core isn't going to get you very much, but running, say, Cataclysm or Mop raids will. Obviously, don't give yourself a hard time. Make sure it's ones that you can breeze through fairly easily. Don't want to be dying, because that's just... But some of these raids you can run really quickly. The Cataclysm raids you can run quite quickly now, and they return a reasonable amount of gold. You get a few thousand from them, and you just need to do this, and it doesn't add that much each week to the time you're spending. It's not like, because obviously it would be silly to spend all your time raising the gold to be able to pay the 60k for the WoW token, and you haven't got time to do anything else in the game. That would be just daft. But if you can get yourself a nice, and if you can do it mostly from the Garrison, because I say just topping up the work orders, keeping the work orders topped up, you're just cycling around and making sure you've got the upgraded in, so you do get, at least on one character, the high gold value missions in the Garrison, and you can have the gold rolling in. You really can. Not as much as it used to, perhaps, but you can still easily get 60k a month, no problem. And what else do you really need to spend it on, if we're honest? So yeah, there are always ways. And there's lots of other little ways just to get little bits as well. I mean, like when the Dark Moon Fair comes along, if you've been doing a few dungeons or a few bits and pieces, you might have got some of the random Dark Moon Fair rep drops. Just sell those. Obviously sell them for maximum earning potential during the Dark Moon Fair time, which is once a month as well. Next comment. Yes, this was about raiders. I was bemoaning the fact that I'm going to have to do all sorts of content I wouldn't normally run, dungeons and LFR, to get Valor. Now, yes, this is the fact that we cannot get it from normal, heroic or mythic raiding is absolutely about getting raiders to do non-raid content, so that we can boost less experienced and less geared people through them. It's absolutely about that, and I haven't got a problem with that. I would do that myself. But the problem is, I don't mind doing a few heroic dungeons, and I don't mind doing a bit of LFR to top it up to get the right amount of Valor. But, I mean, Mythic Dungeons, how does that make sense? Here's the thing. It's not beneficial to get Mythic Raiders to do those Mythic Dungeons, because it's not something you sign up for in a queue. You make your own. So, first of all, people are mostly going to try and play with people in their own guild, who can just blast through it quickly. Where people do have to pug them, there's not going to be genuine pugs, because Mythic Raiders, if they are forming a pug for Mythic Dungeons, are going to set bars for item levels. I do not be surprised to see people saying, need someone to spam the Mythic Dungeons, minimum item level 625. And then the next week it'll be 630, because they've got 5 item levels in that week, or 7 item levels, whatever. That's what you're going to see. You're not going to see people with 625, 630 item level grouping with someone with like 670. It's not going to happen. So if you've got the mythic raiding gear, you're going to want to group with other people with mythic raiding gear and experience, just to blast through it quickly, to get it over and done with, because it's a chore. It's not fun. It's a chore. The heroics can be, because you just blast through them quickly. No one's got a problem with that. It's fine. LFR as well, doing the odd wing of LFR, yeah, fine. Every wing, is that needed? No, it's not. It's not needed. Most of the wings, in actual fact, don't really need that. If they wanted to incentivize it by maybe offering more Valor for like Imperator and Blackhand and probably the last couple of wings in Hellfire Citadel, which might be more difficult in LFR, and we want to incentivize raiders doing those, and they still had a weekly cap, so that perhaps the most efficient way for you to get your Valor was a few heroic dungeons and then Blackhand, Imperator and Archimond on LFR. That might be fine. But yeah, just getting us to do all of it, because what's going to happen now is we're going to blast through it in 2 weeks. We'll be sick to death of it. We'll hate it. And after 2 weeks, most of our gear's upgraded. We only need a few hundred more just to top up when we get a new item, which won't be all that often. So after 2 weeks, you've not got Mythic Raiders doing this content anyway, because they don't need to. So it's not really, in the medium and long term, it's not going to encourage Mythic Raiders to do this content to help out others that want to do that content and can benefit from it. So yeah, I don't go with that one. And the last comment is about this: what classes are likely to be strong in Legion? Well, of course, we don't know really what they've got planned for classes, other than we know that Hunters are going to be melee and as well as ranged. But what I would say, yes, Hunters and Boomkins have been strong this expansion, and you've done yourself no harm by having several of them in a raid roster. And I remember certainly running like 3 Hunters and 3 Boomkins at one time in a roster, and it was good. But traditionally, the ones that are always in need, absolutely always, are Rogues, Warlocks and Mages. You know, if you can play all 3 specs well. So people who can play those classes and don't just identify with a spec, oh, I'm a Destruction Warlock. No, you're not. You're a Warlock, and you can play Destruction, Affliction and Demonology. If you are such a beast, you will never be sat out. It's the same with Mages, same with Rogues. If you can play all the specs well, then you will have people begging you to join their raids. They are always the strongest. Yes, some other DPS specs are strong at certain times of an expansion and not so much at others, and they all have their moments, but those 3 always strong, always. So if you want to go for, if you're, let's say you're someone who doesn't identify with a particular class and you just want to play a class that will just, a DPS class that will just always be strong, and you know, it doesn't matter, they'll be strong on every single fight and they'll be strong on every single tier and all the rest of it, then those are one of the 3 to go for. But make sure you enjoy it, because if you don't enjoy it, then what's the point in doing it? It's a game. At the end of the day, it's a game. You don't get any money for it. It's not going to support your lifestyle. This is your lifestyle. Okay. But anyway, that's it for this week, and I'll see you with a rep video or 2 in the next week. Until then, I'll see you next week.